welcome back to the nationally syndicated Price of Business Show. Jason Rorie, he's with me again. He is really amazing what he does. He's a cybersecurity expert extraordinaire, regular here on the Price of Business, has such an important series helping people navigate one of the biggest problems facing businesses today. The reality is hacking and identity theft, these problems are more pervasive, more ubiquitous than in any time in history. And people, may wonder why we don't hear that more often. Frankly, we hear it pretty often. But, we're living in an environment where presidential candidates are getting shot. The whole planet is on the brink of global war. There's a lot of stories out there. It's hard to cover, but this is so real for the vast majority of us, particularly in business, at any time. So, Jason, glad to have you on the program. Real quickly, just a little about your firm and your best website for more information.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin, for having me. I'm glad everybody could join. A little bit about the firm, Triad InfoSec. We're a cybersecurity advisory company. We specialize in cybersecurity program design, implementation, risk management strategies, and any type of regulatory strategies that you may need to become compliant, whether you have a three-letter agency looking down at you or you have contractual requirements with your customers that require it. That's what we do. We're here to help. You can visit us on our website at www.triadinfosec.io.
Very good. Our topic today is third-party vendors. And what's interesting is that 20 years ago, maybe even not much longer than 10 years ago, it would be unheard of to give the amount of access that businesses casually give to other businesses when it comes to their technology, because that's what we do for doing business, right? It's just incredible what we do now, but would have never done not very long ago. And that creates a lot of problems, and that's going to be part of our focus today. Set the stage for us.
Yeah, definitely. Today we're going to talk about third parties, and I like to actually break this down into two different aspects of third parties. So the first one we'll talk a little bit about is third-party due diligence. The second is third-party risk assessments. So both of them are very, very important, two different things. So to jump in and talk a little bit about third-party due diligence. And I love to have this conversation, with our clients, potential clients, and just really expose the importance of this process. And that is, if you're going to outsource, any of the sensitive operations to your business, whether it be, the cloud platforms, whether it's the big box, the Microsofts and Amazons of the world, or, if they're smaller, more mom and pop cloud providers who are out there. So if you're going to trust these companies, no matter who they are, if they have, access to process or transmit or store any of the sensitive information for your business, what are you doing as a business to make sure that they are handling your data in a safe manner? A lot of companies don't think about that. They think, oh, well, they're in the cloud, so they're secure. Well, that's not necessarily the case. One of the perfect examples, and I know this was several years ago, but it's still a very relevant example of the failure to do, third-party due diligence and ensure that third parties are doing what they're supposed to do, is the massive Target breach that happened several years ago. That breach happened, and all the Target credit card and sensitive information that was, breached and exposed happened because the bad actor was able to get into the third-party HVAC system management platform and then pivot from there into the Target systems. So it just goes to show that you have to do your due diligence. You have to really grill these vendors in really your procurement process. Is where I tell people that you really need to fit this process in. Is if you're looking for a new cloud platform to do X, Y, and Z, and there's several vendors under consideration, you should be asking them, do you have a security audit that you can provide for us to review? Or can you fill out, this security questionnaire and self-attest that you're doing the things that need to be done to protect our data? So I can't preach it enough that it's critical for you to do that if you're going to hand over your sensitive information to a third party to store, because ultimately if they get breached and your customers' data is leaked out, then you're responsible because you chose that vendor. Right? Your customers who are going to be mad that their information is leaked out on the dark web, they're not going to be mad at that vendor. They might be a little bit, but ultimately they're going to be more mad with you because they trusted you and then you trusted the vendor. So there's a little bit of a domino effect, and you have to be prepared for that. Yeah,
no question about that. And so sometimes you're inadvertently inviting the thief into your business.
You could, yeah. I mean, it's really part of the due diligence, process is, again, just really grinding these businesses and asking, and a lot of it is getting to the point now to where, back to the procurement process, if you're looking at vendors, the first question typically is, do you have a SOC 2 or ISO 27001 audit report? If the answer is no to that question, then a lot of organizations are just discarding that vendor from consideration. It's like, if you're not serious enough about your security controls and protecting your customers' information, if you're not serious enough to have those controls and those processes looked at by, an unbiased third-party auditor, then I don't know if I really want to do business with you. So, so critical, that's a business decision. Are you willing to take them at their word, or do you want audited proof? So I've seen organizations do both. Some will discard the vendor, but some will be, okay, well, if you don't have it, as long as they'll take them at their word. To me, that's extremely risky, and I would advise against that if it was me, but there's still a lot of companies out there that will just, take a self-attestation.
So kind of give us some step-by-steps here. When you have a client who, is talking to them about their security situation, I'm sure that's one of the questions you ask. Who are your outside vendors? What kind of security testing have you done with them, which probably most of your new clients haven't even thought of that, right? And so you not only have education to do, but implementation, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the big parts that we do when we come in and start designing and building a cybersecurity program. One of the areas that we focus on is the third-party due diligence. Did you vet these vendors out? If you did, where is the security documentation that you got from them, whether it's the traditional Excel spreadsheet, or if it is the SOC 2 or ISO audit reports, how did you vet them out? And if you didn't, then we need to try to retrofit as much as we can. Hopefully you didn't make a bad mistake, but we're going to help you now go back out to these vendors and say, hey, we're building this cyber program, so we need this information, from you. And hopefully you're not too sticky within that client. So, if there's some red flags that would cause you to probably want to consider moving to a vendor that can prove they're more secure, hopefully that can be an easy process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Give us some final thoughts and takeaways.
The final thoughts is, just always be cautious of who you let have access to or store your data, because it is your data. You're ultimately responsible, and just because you put it in the cloud does not release you of all liability. So make sure you're making an educated decision, that you're, consulting with consultants and technical people who know how to ask the right questions about security to really, make that educated decision. And then ultimately do third-party, risk assessments when the time comes. There's nothing wrong with, being able to assess that risk, have another third party come in to make sure that the controls, both for the third party and then also the controls that you still have internally, are all working in a combined effort, to protect your data.
Jason Rorie, he is our go-to guy when it comes to cybersecurity. His company, Triad InfoSec, that's SEC.io. Make sure you check that out, but also when you go over to priceofbusiness.com, we, of course, will have a link to it over there. You are listening to the nationally syndicated Price of Business show. Stay tuned for more after this.